Edutech. Hello friends, welcome to Amidaedutech. Today we are going to discuss about a very hot topic, that is about the global of economic conditions. Today we will discuss about a very important topic, important issue, that is a global economic conditions. We all know that the countries like USA and the European Union are facing different problems, and IMF gave a gloomy picture of the world GDP. What is going to happen? Will there be any recession, or what is going to happen? Let us discuss about these things in this session. So there will likely to be a recession in Europe, and this is not just because of the real GDP's decline, but the persistent inflation for a long time causing this recession. Since the whole world is interdependent, we can expect a global recession if the recession comes in European Union countries. So today we will see what this recession is all about, and the root cause of this problem, and how this recession is different from the 2008 recession, and we will also talk about the impact of this recession, that is even including India. So what is recession? So recession is an economic downturn typically defined as a 2 consecutive quarters of declining gross domestic product growth. That means if the GDP falls down for consecutive 2 quarters, then we can call this as an economic recession. Generally, when the economy shrinks for 6 months or more, then it is called as the recession. So if we look at the recent IMF report, the global economy is slowing sharply. The war in Ukraine, the rising energy and fruit prices, and the supply demand imbalances are the major reasons for this worldwide inflation. So we are hearing the news about this hiring pauses and layoffs in the US market. The companies like Ford, Microsoft and Apple announced plans to pause this hiring and eliminate jobs altogether. So Europe is facing a perfect storm of uncertainty. We all know the cost of energy in Europe is 10 times what it was a year ago. The average monthly electricity wholesale prices in the European Union from January 2020 to July 2022 is around 380 to 450 euros per megawatt energy. Generally the energy prices used to be around 20 to 60 euros per megawatt energy. So there is 10 times what it was a year ago. So this is largely due to the war in the Ukraine and the sanction on Russian oil and gas. Europe in normal times receives over a third of its gas through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline, which connects Russia to Germany. So this pipeline is closed by the Russia on the pretext of maintenance. We all know that this is in retaliation to G7 group's decision to cap the Russian oil and gas. So G7 price cap means how this actually done is, the importers who seek this G7 or EU insurance cover and G7 or EU shipping services will need to observe this price ceiling. The scheme entails one price cap for crude oil and 2 separate price caps for refined products. If energy prices go high, the biggest problem is not only how these people heat the winter, but also the business and industry would be forced to shut down due to this high energy prices and low supply of the energy. The Europe's producers of chemicals, fertilizers, steel and other energy intensive goods have come under a pressure over the last 8 months as tensions with Russia advanced ahead of the this February invasion. So some producers are shutting down in the face of this competition from the factories in the US, Middle East and other regions where the energy costs are much lower than in the Europe. The natural gas prices are now nearly 3 times higher in the Europe than in the US. The OCI NV, a fertilizer producer based in Amsterdam, has lowered ammonia production at its factory in the Netherlands. The CF Industries Holding Inc., the UK's largest fertilizer producer, said in June that it would permanently shut down a plant that had not been producing ammonia since last year. The Norway's Yara, one of the world's largest fertilizer makers, is slashing this ammonia and urea production in Italy and France due to the soaring gas prices. Ammonia is the most sensitive product accounting for about 70% of the gas that Europe uses as a raw material. So most of the ammonia is used to make fertilizer. And 2 major gas companies of Germany already approached the government for bailout. The farming companies are lowering their production due to this unsustainable energy prices. So because of this massive job losses, reduced revenues will occur. Its impact certainly on the entire global supply chain also. Even if you look at China is also slowing down, and of course it's like because of its zero COVID policy, which put part of the Chengdu city on the lockdown last week. China is also impacting the supply chain management. So if Europe goes into recession, and it will buy fewer commodities from other countries, the European tech companies are reducing their high-paying engineering jobs also. The German wind turbine maker Siemens Gamesa said it is aiming to cut down this 1,500 jobs. So then what is the way out for this? The Europe lifting the sanctions, the first thing is maybe Europe lifting the sanctions on Russia and get the gas for short term and reduce the Russian dependency in the long run. So this might be the way out, but will it happen? I don't know, we have to wait and see this. And another option is the USA buys more euro currency and bail out the Europe, but this will cause inflation in the US. The US itself is facing inflationary issues, and there is another way out is subsidizing this energy is one of the best. Of course it is a bad idea, but out of these all bad ideas, subsidizing energy is one of the best idea in this, as it would cause the inflation and it would also narrow this fiscal space and weaken the currency also. There might be another solution like taxing the wealthy and the rich companies more, so that alleviate this problem to some extent. The options like alternative energy sources like nuclear, wind power, etc. won't solve these short-term problems that they are facing now. So if there is a rapid rise in commodity prices, then the consumers will see a fall in the disposable income. So this squeeze on the living standards, which can lead to lower growth and aggregate demand also. The companies will also face rising transport costs. They may respond by cutting down this on investment. This is another factor that may push the economy into recession. The social and economic costs of this recession can be large and persistent. There can be long-term consequences from an increase in unemployment and business failures that occurred during this recession. So this recession is different from 2008 global recession. We all know that in the wake of 2001 dot-com bubble and the subsequent recession, along with the World Trade Center attack of 9/11 in 2001, the US Federal Reserve pushed the interest rates to the lowest level. So because of this, combined with this, a federal policy to encourage home ownership at these low interest rates helped the rise in the demand in the real estate and financial markets, and a dramatic expansion of the volume of the total mortgage debt. So the financial crisis started in the United States in 2007, and this involved in the financial institutions in many OECD countries. So it was only when the crisis turned out into a global economic crisis, then it impacted the developing and emerging economies also. So mainly through the trade channel, and in some cases through declining worker remittances. So those developing countries which had major trade relations with the US and the European countries that are affected badly because of this 2008 recession, then these countries also got affected, and through this it spread to the whole world from there onwards. So this great financial crisis of 2007-2008 and the dot-com burst of 2000-2001 are two recent recessions that were credit driven. In those instances, the excesses caused by the debt accumulated in the housing and internet infrastructure, and it took the economy nearly 10 years to absorb them. So by contrast, this excessive liquidity, not debt, is the most likely catalyst for a recession today. So in this case, the extreme levels of COVID related fiscal and monetary stimulus pumped money into the households and investment markets, contributing to the inflation and driving the speculation in financial assets. So apart from this, the global geopolitical events like Russia and Ukraine war and sanctions on the Russia are going to be the major causes for this recession. The inflation-induced recession affects the whole society, unlike this credit-driven recession, which affected those countries and companies that are exposed to. Of course, now let us look into the country like India. When it comes to the India, the bilateral trade between these two, India and European Union, surpassed this almost $116 billion in 21-22. And we all know that EU is the third largest trading partner, accounting for 62.8 billion euros worth of trade in goods in 2020, and after China as a 12%, 2020. The EU is the second largest destination for Indian exports, almost 14% of the total after the USA. The major India's exports to the EU are engineering goods, pharmaceutical, gems and jewelry, and other manufactured goods and chemicals. We all know that there are more than 6,000 European Union companies are set to operate in India, providing direct and indirect employment to over 6 million people. 7.9% of the EU's total population are Indian immigrants to the EU are also affected. So apart from this, India is facing tough times when it comes to the foreign policy. So it has to choose a long-term friends like Russia or the new friend in making like USA. So G7 countries are pressuring India to join this price cap, but so far India is acting on our own national interest. So with this, we can say that this global recession is going to affect India. This global recession is going to affect India as directly as well as indirectly. Now let us wait and see what is going to happen. Thank you.